We've had an exciting first 3 weeks of the SEC slate, but why not kick it off with some more? 5 major matchups, a rematch of an upset from last year. These are the Week 4 previews as we prepare for an exciting SEC slate this weekend. Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas Hill here of SEC Live with the Voice of College Football. Everyone do us a favor. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Turn on that bell notification down below so that you are notified every time we post a new video here on SEC Live at the Voice of College Football. I want to make sure you go on over and do me a favor. Go to the Voice of College Football website, vocfb.com/shop, and use my promo code VOCFB Gamecocks when you use my promo code VOCFB Gamecocks, just like it says in the ticker right there. Also want to thank our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Going over to Underdog Fantasy, whether it be on the Apple or Android device, whichever one of the two, use my promo code VOCFBSC and get yourself a nice little discount whenever you use that promo code VOCFBSC. And when you use that, when you play your first $5 lineup, you will get $50 instantly in free bets. That's VOCFBSC. And when you play that $5 or more lineup, you will get $50 in free bets. No purchase is necessary. Must be 21 or older to use. Not available in all states. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That is 800-GAMBLER. Let's go ahead and let's start the day off with a very interesting matchup for that morning, and that is Arkansas going to Memphis, going to the Liberty Bowl. Ryan Silverfield, we have mentioned him a couple of times on the show. In fact, in our preview season, when we talked with John Neighbors of Inside Arkansas, who just appeared on Feinbaum as well, look, there is a lot that needs to be addressed when we talk about this Arkansas team. So far through the first 2 or 3 games, Arkansas has done fairly well, better than what a lot of people expected through the first 3 games of the season. You were able to hang around with an Ole Miss team that can score. You forced them to. They went in with a backup quarterback that gave you issues, though. Defensively, I have a lot of issues. Coach Travis Williams, I'm kind of concerned about going into this one, knowing the lack of depth that you had defensively. It may end up being an offensive shootout between the two. Memphis, when we talk about Ryan Silverfield, we know about what their offensive line and what their quarterbacks have been, most of which have been pocket passers. We saw what Seth Hennigan did last year and the legacy that he left behind. Brendan Lewis, the Nevada transfer, comes in. He is going to play a major role in this game. Dual threat guy, very efficient throwing the football too. Last game, I think he's had just over a 70% completion percentage, 608 yards, 2 touchdowns, just a 1 interception actually, but can run the football very, very effectively, guys. So he is going to be utilized a lot in this option game, something that Arkansas struggled with last week and something that I think that will continue to haunt them throughout this season. Something that Travis Williams has struggled to do is being able to shut down a mobile quarterback. You struggled against Trinidad Chambliss, who came in and lit you up all across the field. Guys, we'll see what happens this week. It's a brand new team. It's a brand new opponent. But I'll say this, if Arkansas is able to go into Memphis and pull off this upset, I think it gives them a lot of, not necessarily momentum, but a lot of confidence whenever you go through the rest of the SEC slate. It's a rough one for Arkansas, knowing what you have to face. After Memphis, the next season is going to be rough. Notre Dame, at Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, Missouri. This is not a very easy schedule for Arkansas. So I do think that this does end up being where this is one of those rare games for Travis Williams, and it happens every year. There's going to be one or two games that this defense has that they pretty much shock majority of college football, and they manage to pull away with a big win. I think this is one. I think Arkansas does enough to shut down Brendan Lewis. I think Memphis is going to scheme against that specific defense. I think they're going to try to find little wrinkles in the middle of the field that Arkansas has left behind. There's a lot of moving pieces around for Arkansas. Your secondary is not very good. Memphis has a lot of talent at the receiver position, but I do think this ends up being a shootout. But like I mentioned, Travis Williams' defense is going to make a play at the end of it when it matters most, and I think Arkansas is able to get the victory at the end of the day. I do think Memphis covers the 8.5-point spread, which I do expect to dip down into either the 6 or 6.5, 7.5 point spread to close it out. But this is going to be a very, very close game from start to finish. A lot of offense expected between Brendan Lewis and Taylon Green, two of the most underappreciated quarterbacks right now in college football. Brendan Lewis is a really, really mobile guy. And look, don't be surprised if he's just next in line to be one of the just continuing to follow in the Ryan Silverfield era of great quarterbacks that's come through Missouri. Arkansas, in the last year of Sam Pittman's era, I think people are tired of him, and I think it's time to move on. They may hire from within, probably going to get Bobby Petrino. We'll see what happens because there's a lot of animosity in Fayetteville, especially with what Hunter Yurachek said earlier about not being able to win national championships. Let's go to South Carolina and Missouri. South Carolina, if you listen to me on South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football, you know how displeased I am overall with this roster. I think offensive line-wise, you are pretty much an example of false advertisement. Stars across the board, a lot of talent, but you're not getting coached the right way. You're missing assignments. You are confused. You're getting pushed around up front. You're going to go into an environment where Missouri has the 10th best rush defense in college football. And your number one objective is to run the football. This is one of the biggest challenges that South Carolina is going to have to face, and that is, can you get a push up front for once this season? Can you finally establish the line of scrimmage? You haven't been able to do that through 3 games. Let's just be honest. When you look even against South Carolina State, you were getting pushed around up front. There was a lot of negative plays that South Carolina State generated, that Vanderbilt generated, that Virginia Tech generated, all putting them behind the sticks early and putting them in bad situations. Missouri in this game is going to have the upper hand. Number one, it's at Faurot Field. It's going to be at night. Number two, they have one of the more impressive quarterbacks in Beau Pribula. Beau Pribula is a very, very good quarterback. Through 3 games, he's been probably one of the most efficient and most consistent quarterbacks. I know you haven't really played a good defense because Kansas, let's just be honest, Lance Leipold and company aren't known for defense. Overall, I expect for this Missouri offense to establish the run game with Jaden Roberts and with Ahmad Hardy, both of which are 2 of the best running backs in the SEC, both of which are going to make significant impacts for this Missouri offense. They're going to get it established against a run defense that has been good, but you haven't gotten consistency. Can Missouri make the plays at the end of the day? Number one is that they can't get behind early. If you do, then you're going to give this South Carolina team enough of a chance to generate some momentum, whether it be Luke Doty starting or whether it be Lenoris Sellers that's starting. We've been hearing some rumblings about, well, maybe Lenoris might play. He's been responding good to protocol. I don't know yet, guys. And I don't think we will know until we get to this Saturday. We know how Beamer is whenever he does these injury reports. We don't know. Number one, South Carolina right now's offensive line is pretty much the bottom of the barrel in all of college football. So good luck. That's all I can say for South Carolina. I have Missouri covering pretty easily. There's a 13.5-point spread, according to some betting analysts. I do have them covering in this one. But my message to Missouri is this. Do not get behind the sticks. Do not play down to this team. They're dangerous, and if you let them off the hook, you're going to get burned. Missouri is too talented of a team to lose games like this on the road, especially with where South Carolina is at. I'm not saying defensively they're bad. I thought Clayton White and company got put in really, really bad positions off of 4 turnovers. The thing about South Carolina is that this is their identity, is that your defense can only do so much for a certain amount of time before they start to break down. And if offensively you can't get consistent, if we have the same problems that we've been seeing through the first 3 weeks of the season, things won't change. Missouri's going to continue to dominate, which I do think will happen, which unfortunately is going to be reality right now for South Carolina fans. So I have Missouri winning this one. But for South Carolina, you got to show signs of improvement. 4 touchdowns through 3 games ain't going to cut it. Offensively, you got to find an identity, whether it be through Lenore Sellers, whether it be through the run game, whether it be through getting your playmakers the football on the outside. Something has to be the big difference for your team to either come out of Faurot Field with a win or you get embarrassed on Missouri's home. All right, so let's move on to Florida and Miami. Florida right now is in a position that they did not expect themselves to be in at the start of the season. But that's what you got. You had all these high expectations for DJ Lightweight, rightfully so. But right now, he is not comfortable in Russ Callaway's offense. And I don't feel like he's being utilized the way that he was during the great stretch that he had at the end of last year. I think he's being more utilized as a drop back guy. They're not letting him kind of be mobile. And that might be a cause of him still being injured. He's still dealing with, I think it was either a foot or a hamstring injury that he sustained during fall camp. So I don't know what the deal is with that. But going into this game on Saturday with Miami, it's one of those things that it's got to be a must win for Billy Napier and company. And I don't want to hear that Scott Strickland's going to be keeping him for the entire 2025 season. Loyalty plays both ways. Why are you still sold on Billy Napier? That's my question. Because offensively, you've been broken whenever he came across. You have shot yourselves in the foot so many times that you can't generate anything. DJ Lagway, 5 interceptions last week. And it was just piss poor decision after piss poor decision after piss poor decision. You allowed for a team like LSU to hang around where you had opportunities to go down the field and win the game. But offensively, you can't get into a rhythm. When you get to the opposite side of the 50, your play calling just goes to crap. That's about like half what the SEC is dealing with. I don't understand, to be honest, guys. Because DJ Lagway has all the talent in the world, has probably a very, very good chance of being a first-round draft pick. But after what happened last week, guys, he still has a lot to learn. He's still going through in his second full season. And I didn't expect for him to win the Heisman Trophy or anything like that, but I did expect him to take some step forward. Right now, you're not seeing that from DJ. Right now, you're seeing a young, inexperienced quarterback go out and struggle. Go out and not read a defense properly. Go out and not look confident whenever he drops back and is standing in the pocket. Guys, you have an offensive line that is All-American-like. You have an All-American offensive line. And you can't put your trust in them. And you have guys that can generate big plays for you. You have athletes across the board, guys. You have so much talent offensively, and you're not utilizing them because you're shooting yourself in the foot. This is what happened last week, and this is what happened on this past Saturday. This past week, meaning USF. Right now, you are broken. Right now, I don't know what the mentality of that team is. Something's got to change. Going to Miami this week, Miami humbled the piss out of South Florida. They put up almost 50 on them. Guys, Miami is a freaking good team. I did not think that Miami going into this year was going to be much. I thought they were overhyped and overrated going into this season. I was wrong. Guys, Carson Beck looks amazing in this Shannon Dawson offense. So it's a big step from where he was this past year when everybody said, oh, he's washed, oh, he's not going to do much. And then we see him in a brand new offense with a lot of brand new pieces that are around him. And then all of a sudden, Miami looks really, really good. And I think they proved that this past weekend. I thought this was a better win compared to what they did against Notre Dame. And it goes to show you what type of opportunities are put in place when moving pieces are put in better systems. When Carson Beck goes to a Shannon Dawson offense. When you finally get a good defensive play caller in Corey Heatherman. Miami has that. Florida is not consistent enough on offense. I don't know what they're going to do defensively, but they better put pressure on Carson Beck and force some bad throws. Or else they're going to light him up all damn day. So you have a lot to work on. This week better be a reality check for this program, knowing that you have a lot to work on. Offensively, your relationships that you have with your receivers, trusting your receivers to make plays, not forcing anything. That's a lot of questions that DJ Lagway has to ask himself. And for the program itself, what is the state of Florida right now? What does this look like? What is the state of Florida? That's, I think, a question that a lot of fans have to ask themselves, and I think it will get answered this weekend. So I have Miami covering this one, and I think I have them winning. Let's go on over to Tulane and Ole Miss. Why do I have this game highlighted? Many of you are not going to really know much about Tulane. I didn't expect that you would. But Tulane is a very, very interesting G6. They played Ole Miss before, I think twice. And the last time they met, Tulane was a quarterback injury away in Michael Pratt from potentially stealing that game from Ole Miss. It turned out to be a 37-20 game. Guys, Ole Miss had to score 20 unanswered in the fourth quarter to pull away. So that tells you a lot about what Tulane is bringing overall. I really like John Summerall. John Summerall is a future Division I head, or is a future SEC head coach. Bottom line, he's a future Power 4 head coach, in my opinion. And what he's building there is truly remarkable. I think Jake Retzlaff, this has got to be a game where you got to get him out of his comfort zone. You had a great game last week against Duke, a game that really you had won once the first quarter was over. You stole the momentum. And I think that with the amount of talent that Tulane has, it's hard to not notice how good this team is. Guys, Jake Retzlaff had over 350 yards of offense by himself. So this is really going to be an interesting game between both of these quarterback rooms, both of which I think can do some damage. Right now, I think that Ole Miss is going to be continuing on with the Trinidad Chambliss era, which is not going to be any surprise. But Retzlaff really did some things. 4 rushing touchdowns, pretty much guided that team to where they earned a victory. They were up 29-4 going into the half. They had that game won. They're up 24-3 at one point, to be honest with you. They earned a win. They dominated from start to finish, even though they didn't win the yardage battle, even though they didn't win the first down battle, even though they weren't as good on third down compared to Duke. You controlled the game from start to finish. You took advantage of opportunities that Duke missed. Duke misses a field goal, you go down the field in 10 plays and take off 5.5 minutes, and you score. You force an interception, you get a field goal. You get a turnover on downs, it's a touchdown. Really 3 turnovers that led to 17 points for Tulane. So number one, for Ole Miss, you can't turn the football over. This offense can score. And I think Ole Miss is going to be in for another wild one. That's just my opinion. If Ole Miss wants to avoid an upset, number one, they're going to have to rely on the run game. I think Kewan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss are going to be active on the ground all day today, that Saturday. Rightfully so, because that's an offense that right now for Ole Miss has their number one guy with Chambliss. Somebody that can throw the football. I'm not saying that I think Tulane's secondary is going to be better than what Ole Miss provided. But Ole Miss has the athletes. I'm not saying that Tulane doesn't. But I think that this is going to turn a 2-man race for whose quarterback is going to be the better coming out of this game. That's what I expect. I think at the end of the day, because it's in Oxford, because of the momentum that Ole Miss has with their new quarterback, I do have them winning. But I think this ends up being just over the over-under. I think the over is like 51.5. Give me the over in that one. I think this does end up being a 28-24 game, though. This is going to be another tight game. But don't be surprised if Tulane is able to force a turnover or two. They'll be able to take advantage of the mistakes that Ole Miss makes. Ole Miss has to play another running quarterback. They gave up over 400 yards against Taylor Green last week. Let's see what they do against Jake Retzlaff. Going to be a fun game. I'm really interested to see this one. Let's finish it off with Auburn and Oklahoma, which I think not a lot of people are going to pay attention to this one. And I should say that they're not going to, but I think that at the preseason, if you were to tell me that both of these teams are going to go into this one, both 3-0, I'd have thought you were crazy. Especially Auburn. But this is a really, really good game that we're going to get at the end of it all. I thought Auburn made a lot of mistakes against South Alabama. And I think it does cause some concern if you are a Auburn fan. And you just never felt comfortable in that game. They might have won, but I thought they hung around in that football game. Jeremiah Cobb, though, had a very, very good game. Guys, I was preaching in week 1 whenever I watched that Baylor game that you needed to be feeding Jeremiah Cobb the football. You finally did this past weekend, and he busted one for over 100 yards. If Auburn is going to win this football game on the road, the same thing that they did against Baylor has to happen. But let's just be honest. This is a much more aggressive defense compared to Baylor. This is a much better defense compared to Baylor. And to be real with you, the secondary is where the strong point of Oklahoma's defense is at. I think Brent Venables taking over play calling defensively was like taking over for Bob Stoops last year. Nothing really much went wrong last year defensively for Oklahoma. It's like Brent Venables took over for himself. And that should be a compliment towards Zach Alley, too. But I think offensively, you're starting to take so many steps forward. And I think that's brilliant, what you were able to do. I think John Mateer is right now my Heisman favorite. John Mateer is playing lights out through 3 games this season. And I expect him to do the same thing against Auburn defense. I think the option game is going to be interesting. I think the line of scrimmage game is going to be interesting between Auburn's defensive line and what Oklahoma's O-line is going to do. We'll see how Oklahoma is on 3rd down. Let's see if there's any sort of continual improvement there. You know, I think that this is a game that could get out of hand pretty quickly. That's why I have Oklahoma winning this one. I think that they managed to cover. Right now, I think Oklahoma is the more complete team in the SEC right now. And I think Oklahoma may put themselves in the conversation as a top 5 or 4 SEC team. And if you win this one, I would solidify you as a potential favorite to be in the college football playoff when it's all said and done. Don't be surprised if that does happen. Oklahoma is damn good this year. Miles compared to where you were last year. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments section below. What's one SEC game that I didn't mention? By the way, shout out my school, Southeastern Lions, going to play LSU this week. Our head coach said that he is going to pretty much go there for a paycheck. But no, it's going to be a good game, good weekend this week. Really excited to bring you guys all the coverage. We will be live on Saturday. As you know, always for the final whistle, we'll break down all the things SEC. We'll break down all that happened over the weekend. We'll also be live on South Carolina Live, recapping the Missouri game. We'll see how that goes. But regardless of that, thank you guys all for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Follow me on X at Lucas Hill SEC, and we will see you all very soon. Y'all have a great rest of the week.